Well, my name is Pierre. I'm a French volunteer, at least I used to be, and I first volunteered internationally to come to Wales, so leave France and come to Wales to volunteer for a year. Uh, I left France through Concordia, which is a French organization that sends volunteers abroad, and then arrived to Wales. And my host organization in Wales was the WCIA, the Welsh Centre for International Affairs. Um, Initially for a year, so I left in late October, early November 2021. And I've got, I would say, a unique type of volunteering because I was the first ever international volunteer to actually work where I'm currently working right now, which is Flatholm Island. Flatholm Island, for those who don't know, is a small island located in the Bristol Channel. It's a Welsh island and also the most southerly point in Wales. It's 5 miles off the coast of Cardiff. And yeah, I would say this is a pretty unique type of volunteering. A normal day would obviously depending on the season, but you'd try and get up and be ready to sort of work at like 7:30, I would say. Sometimes, it might be 7 in the summer. So 7:30. At 7:30, we start the day with a bird walk, which means that we take our binoculars with us, we take our notepads and our pencils, and we go around the island in the same. We always do the same walk for scientific and objectivity purposes, and we try and keep a record of all the birds that we see or hear around the island. It's for, record the biodiversity, all the species around it. So this usually lasts an hour. Then we stop for breakfast. We've got an hour break for breakfast. We turn the generator on. We've got electricity for approximately half an hour also. And then, yeah, an hour for breakfast. In the meantime, the warden, or the wardens just start preparing what's going to be done for the day. And then we would usually work so by that time it's approximately, 9:30. We would work maybe till 12:30 or something. Then an hour for lunch, same process for the generator. And then we'd work again in the afternoon until 4:30 or 5. I think definitely, well, this will probably apply to every volunteer, but it's because we're all international volunteers. We come from all around Europe, which is a wonderful thing. And it adds visibility, first of all, to Wales as a country, but also to Cardiff and the Cardiff area and Swansea as well, because we've got WCIA volunteers in Swansea. So generally, and then more locally and personally, maybe for Flatholm, I feel I've allowed people to realize that Flatholm was also a territory that attracted other people, just not local or Welsh people as a whole. Um, and then as an impact, that we've had on the island, um, maintaining, it's a nature reserve. So if your work goes towards maintaining a nature reserve the way it is and even improving it, that's all I could ask for, really. Whether it is the fauna, the flora, and a part of the job I really enjoyed as a volunteer was to do the community engagement level of it, to see visitors coming over, they're having them telling us their stories about and their links to the island, I think is a really wonderful thing. Yeah, It's a very interesting one. And obviously, the goal of a volunteering in the end is always that hopefully you'll get a job at the end, or at
Yeah.
least it will help you in your career so you can potentially apply for jobs related to that. So for me, it was very unexpected because I had come here knowing that, I was volunteering for a year. I would leave in November 2022, and that was it. Despite me wanting to stay in Wales in the future, I had always this at the back of my mind. I
Mhm.
wanted to stay and live in Wales. But so my volunteering started, it all went well. Great, relationship with other volunteers and my warden. And my warden at the time had been here for 4 years. So he was already 31, and he was at a point in his life where he obviously wanted to do something else, because island life, I'm not going to lie, is also sometimes can take a toll on you physically, but also emotionally, and with your relationship, your friends and family, your personal relations you have outside the island. It's quite it's living as an hermit, so it's a very different life, and they desperately needed someone. So what they did is that they did an internal recruitment, which meant that they asked the people they knew, from Cardiff Harbour Authority. They asked former volunteers and current ones, as well as former wardens. You never know if people want to come back. In the end, I applied along with another volunteer I was with, whose name is Heidi, and for, I would say, practical purposes, we both got the job, as in we are quite young. We're respectively, I'm 23 turning 24 this year, and Heidi is turning 22 this year.
Mhm.
So we're quite young, and we are obviously extremely conscious of how grateful and thankful we can be to have this job, because
Mhm.
even though we are currently, being our contract is half time because we share the role, it's a wonderful opportunity, really. I I cannot stress how I do recommend international volunteering, but even volunteering in general. I know it has its downside, because nowadays we see volunteering as a sort of alternative to, proper paid jobs, I would say, because it's in the name volunteering, you don't get paid essentially. And this is also, people need to be careful, I would say, if I had a message to if a message had to go across, is to be careful. People need to make sure it's volunteering and not exploitation, because it's a way for a lot of companies and private groups, to exploit people. But fortunately, with the WCIA and the ESC, I think we just don't encounter these problems. Personally, I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but for me, it wasn't a problem at all. So volunteering is a wonderful experience, uh, for yourself, for others. You meet so many people. You learn a new language. If it's also one of the objectives of the volunteering, to get better at your personal skills. You learn a lot from yourself, from others, and from the place where you are, and you feel a special attachment to it as well once you leave. If you leave, because sometimes you've got people who want to stay, and who manage to do it. And yeah, I'm really grateful as well for the European programs we've got, because these things are rather new. I was an Erasmus student in 2018, 2019. I was in London, and so enjoyed Erasmus as a student, and I'm enjoying ESC as a volunteer, so working. Uh, it's just great. I cannot stress how important it is as well, and to do it now. ESC volunteering is for people between 18 and 30, and that's exactly the time in your life when you want to do these things.
Mhm. Yeah, completely agree. Okay, and the last one, well, more or less, like, how's your future looking now? Like, do you have any plans for, yeah, probably like after September, if you're not maybe staying there? Like, are you planning to go back to France, or yeah, no, like you've got something in mind?
So far, well, as we said previously, I'm planning on applying for this job. I
Mhm.
really hope I can get it, and so I would, stay in the area for sure. If not, I'm still going to apply for other jobs, specifically in Wales if I can, conservation related, landscaping, agriculture, outdoor jobs, sorry. I am lucky enough to have a pre-settled status,
Mhm.
which means that I got it in 2020, which means that until 2025, I'm legally allowed to live, work, uh, and just, maybe volunteer as well, again, in the UK. So my long-term goal is to settle in the UK, Wales
Mhm.
specifically,
Mhm.
and keep building my little life from there.